A warm welcome and a hearty good evening to one and all present here. I am Aishwarya Zadav
Opposite.
from second.
Continue, Aishwarya, it's all right.
Okay. I'm Aishwarya Zadav from SYIT and a team member of GDSC VJTI, your host for today. It's my immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's FY orientation session. We will introduce you all to Google Developer Students Club GDSC VJTI and also to the various domains under it. We will also tell you about the benefits of joining the club and what we have in store for you in the coming year. We also have a fun filled quiz for you. So, are you excited to know more about GDSC? Here comes the amazing video to introduce GDSC VJTI and make you all even more excited about it.
Hey, I'm Shaburu from Google Developer Student Club. Google Developer Student Club is a worldwide community supported by Google. Within India itself, there are 350 colleges associated with GDSE. By joining a GDSE, students grow the knowledge in a peer-to-peer learning environment and build solutions for local businesses and their community and bridge gap between theory and practice. Anyone who is interested to be a part of this community can attend the workshops and grow their skill set. And most importantly, you'll stay aware of opportunities like competitions, internship opportunities, scholarships, exclusive webinars and workshops, and much more. Domains that we're going to focus this year are AI/ML, cloud computing, full stack web development, machine learning, mobile app development, cybersecurity, and domains that we'd like to explore with you are open source, blockchain, and many more.
Now, I would like to welcome Vidhi Gupta, our GDSC VJTI lead, and request her to brief all of us about GDSC VJTI and advantages of joining the club.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aishwarya, for your warm welcome. So good evening, everyone. My name is Riddhi Gupta, and I'm the lead of GDSC VJTI. I'm currently in my third year of Information Technology branch, and I would like to welcome you all to this orientation session, and I hope that you enjoy it. So, moving ahead, let me explain to you guys what exactly GDSC is. So, Google Developer Student Clubs is a worldwide community supported by Google. So, within India itself, there are around 350 plus colleges associated with GDSC. So, it is an initiative by Google and under which the students have established GDSCs in the respective colleges, and these clubs are present throughout the globe. So, by joining GDSC, you will be able to learn alongside your peers, your seniors, and even your juniors. And we have always maintained a learning environment at GDSC VJTI and have always provided resources to students who are truly interested in learning. Okay, so Sarah, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I am really delighted to introduce you to Palak Mantri, who is the founder of GDSC VJTI, and she is a final year computer engineering student. She will be working as a technology analyst at Morgan Stanley, and Palak is an excellent senior, and shall I say she's our friend, and she has extensive knowledge and amazing development skills. She's always there for everyone whenever we need her help. You can always message her for if you are stuck anywhere in your project, and she will always help you out. So, taking this opportunity, I would like to thank her for establishing this amazing club at GDSA VJTI and for always helping me out too. Okay, so moving ahead. Now let me tell you guys what all things you can expect from GDSC VJTI. So at GDSC VJTI, you will learn about various technologies like Google Cloud Platform, Android app development using Kotlin or Flutter, Google Cloud Computing, etc. You are always encouraged here to make projects, and we are always here to teach you and solve your doubts. Also, we always organize keep on organizing competitions, because we feel that a competition is a way to encourage people to learn. It's like when you apply whatever you have learned, you become confident enough that okay, I know this thing. And last but not the least, we always try to contribute back to the society in any way we can. Like we have made websites and apps for local businesses, and we teach our juniors and learn new things. So it's like we always have this feeling that we need to give back what we take. Moving forward, so these are the five major domains that GDSC VJTI offers. The first is full stack web development. Second is Android app development. Third is machine learning. Fourth is cloud computing, and fifth is cybersecurity. Okay, so we have organized campaigns, like we organize campaigns for each and every domain. Now you will ask me, what are campaigns, what do we do in that? So basically a campaign is like a 20 or a 30-day program wherein we teach students the technologies, the coding, and the and the programming languages relevant to a particular domain, and we also make project in that particular 20 or 30-day program. So this is what a campaign is. And we have organized a web development campaign. We have, Sarah, can you move to the previous slide? Yeah. So we have organized web development track. We have organized Android app development campaign. Then even cloud computing campaign was organized last year, and it will be organized this year as well. Cybersecurity campaign is currently going on, and machine learning campaign will be organized in March. So be prepared for all of this. I hope you learn from these campaigns. And the domains that we wish to explore with you guys are open source, blockchain, and many more. So if you have any experience in these domains, or if you wish to learn, then you can surely contact us. Sarah, to the next slide. Yeah, so now, yes, Aditya, we will surely share the slides with you. We will share the recording as well. There are no prerequisites, Vansh. You just should just have this eagerness to learn new things. Okay, so now what kind of events we plan? First is hands-on workshop, wherein we teach our students, like our batchmates, our seniors, our juniors, about new technologies, right? Then the second is solution challenge. Solution challenge is one of the most important competition that is organized by Google themselves. So it's like you need to make a project there, and the problem statement will be obviously given to you, and you will have to make a project. So this solution challenge will go live in January, and we will be soon releasing it on our social media handles so that you can apply for it. The third is expert tech talks. So these are the expert sessions in which we invite Google developer experts, and they come and they give lectures on various technology related topics. One of them was Mr. Nirav Kothari, who came for a lecture, and he gave a session on Google Cloud Computing. Okay, and another expert session was given by Mr. Shreyas Patil, who is India's youngest Google developer expert, and he told us about Jetpack Compose. So Jetpack Compose comes under Android app development, which you will learn sooner or later, right? So the fourth is we explore ML2. We have Kaggle competitions, about which Vedanti will brief you later. And then we have study jams. You must have observed on our YouTube channel that we have uploaded various study jams of cloud and Android. So here in study jams, we teach the coding part, basically how to make a project, or how to get started with everything with a particular domain, be it cloud or Android. The last is project building. Project building. Okay, so this is a very important topic. Whatever campaign we keep, we always try that you make a project in that, because whatever you learn, you should be able to apply that, and hence making a project is important. So we always encourage that here. Sarah, to the next slide. So who can learn from GDSC VJTI, or who can join GDSC VJTI? So anyone who is interested to be a part of this community can attend the workshops and grow their skill set. So we are not restricting anyone based on their year, branch, or college. This community is open for everyone, irrespective of their branch and college. So you can even maybe invite your friends who don't have GDSCs in their college to our events, or to our sessions, or to our club. Sarah, the next slide. So now you must be wondering, why should I join GDSC VJTI? What benefits will I receive, right? So, Sarah, next slide. So these are some of the points that I have mentioned. Obviously, there are more benefits that you will get once you join the club, but these are some basic points. The first point is you improve your skills, and you obviously get an opportunity to teach others. So currently you are in your first year, right? And you are still in your learning phase. You have to learn a lot more things, a lot more tech stacks and everything. So after learning all this, if you feel that okay, I can teach my batchmates, I can teach my juniors, then you can always contact us, and we are here to give you the opportunity to do so. We organize study jams, we organize workshops, right? So if you think that okay, you have the experience and you have the knowledge of teaching others, then you can surely tell us. The second point is that you get a chance to publish your blogs on GDSC VJTI's official medium publication, right? So if you are interested in writing a blog, or if you have some knowledge about any domain and you wish to share it with others, then you can surely write a blog and share it with us. GDSC VJTI has taken this initiative to release a blog every Friday. We call it Friday blogs. And these blogs are not written by some experts. Okay, it is written by our own students. So you can surely write one and send us. And as I told you, we are always here to promote your projects. If you have any projects, we are here to recognize that, and we are here to share it on our social media handles so that your efforts are recognized, right? And the most important benefit that you get here is you get access to the resources provided by Google program managers. So these resources may not be free for everyone, but still when we are part of GDSC VJTI, we have the access to the resources. And the last, not the last point I can say, but yeah, an important point is that you learn team collaboration, because when you become part of a community, you work with everyone, irrespective of their age or of their branch, right? So in that case you learn how to work with a team. So yeah, here also you can see a benefit. Next slide, please. Okay. So most importantly, you will stay aware of opportunities like competitions, internships, scholarship, exclusive webinars and workshops, and much more. Talking about internships, we always post such opportunities on our Slack and WhatsApp groups. So that you don't miss out on any. We always post information about off-campus internships too, and scholarships as well, which are given by Google. Next slide. Okay, so how will we conduct everything online? This must be a question, since COVID has hit us from last I guess 1.5 or 2 years. Everything has become digital right from our college. So it's not an obstacle for us. We have overcome this obstacle of online teaching. So from the past 1.5 years, we have conducted around 30 plus successful events online with an audience of more than 3,000 students. So it's like we have got a stage, we have got resources, and we are always ready to share our knowledge with you all. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are our facilitators for Cloud and Android Study Jam. Sara Tisekar is the Cloud facilitator, and she's from Computer Engineering branch. And Prasad Thakre is the Android Study Jam facilitator, and he is also from Computer Engineering branch. Next slide, please. Okay, so you will be introduced to our domain lead soon, but as a lead, I would like to introduce you to our, the backbone of this club, who are marketing and outreach heads. They organize everything. They do everything they can, right from making a caption, right from making a form, right from organizing events, right from making it reach to the right audience. They do everything. So our marketing and outreach leads are Sushme Nirmal, who is from IT, Krishna Asher, who is from IT, and Aryan Kurana, who is from computer engineering. So I would like to thank these three heads for organizing such great and successful events. Next slide, please. So here we are, the face of GDSC VJTI. That is the design team. Have you noticed the posters, and have you noticed The the things that we upload on our social media handles, all of those are created by these four. That is Ravi Moria, Dhanistha Ghosh, Akash Parmar, and Aaron Kurana. They work very hard to make good posters, so that people get interested in our club, and we look really good on social media websites, on social media platforms. So yeah, thanks to them as well. Sarah, the next slide. Okay, so if you are not part of any GDSC FI group, then you can scan this QR code, which is shown on your screen, and you can join the group. Okay, don't join this group if you are part of the FI's group 1 and 2. Okay, because the same thing will be posted in all three groups. So you can scan the QR code. We will also post this link in the chat section. Sarah, the next slide. Okay, okay. So yeah, Aishwarya, you can take on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Riddhi. That was indeed a very insightful introduction in a very short time. It just boosted our excitement and told us about all the advantages we get by joining the club. Now it's quiz time. Don't worry, it's not a tiresome quiz, but a fun filled one. We also have some surprise rewards for the first three winners. So, here are some instructions about the quiz. You all will get the link in the chat box and have 7 minutes to complete the assigned questions. You have to submit the quiz in time. In case of any participant there is tie, then we will judge the tie on the basis of time the quiz is submitted. The winners will be announced at the end of session, so stay tuned. And without any further ado, we are sharing the links in the chat box. And your time starts now.
Hello.
Yes, yes, Manav.
Can you tell me again about the tweet? I'll have poor connection.
Okay, so I'll send the link in the chat again. You have 7 minutes to complete the quiz. Okay, the form will stop accepting requests responses at 5:33. So be quick.
Okay, thank you.
Three of them have completed, I guess. Great, great. So were you able to solve all questions? Mangesh, Rohit, Onkar, Vallabh, were you able to solve all of them? Tried. Okay, great, great. Let's see who wins. A few correctly. Okay, done. Great, great, Siddhant. How was the quiz, by the way, for those who completed it? Was it OP? Link video. Okay, we'll send the link again. We will share the answers with you, Onkar, after the session. थोड़ा सबर रखो पार्थ.
Time up, guys. We are very delighted to see the nice responses. Submit the quiz fast. We will stop accepting the responses now. Technology is so vast and there are so many domains out there. Every day there are changes and new technology emerges out with each day. So let's look the 5 major domains we offer. I would like the domain leads to come forward and explain us about their domain. Starting with web development, I would request Bhavya Mehta and Vishal Patil to explain us about their domains in brief.
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Bhavya Mehta and I'm from CS, and Vishal Patel and I are the GDSA web development leads at GDSA, and will be the development leads for this year. And in this session, I have planned about web development and intro to web development, a brief overview about what this domain actually is and how you guys should proceed to actually be a master in this domain. So let's start. So this is a bit of show off. Yes, this is me. I'm Bhavya and I have Vishal Patel with me and we are the leads. Vishal is from electrical engineering and I'm from CS. Moving on, so what do we have for agenda plan today? And first of all, we have a brief introduction about what is web development, what is web development technologies are, which is followed by a small example. So I won't be talking about all theory the complete session. I'll just take up a small example and you guys will know how exactly things work out in real life. The third thing that I have on my mind is I'll tell you what's in the making this year, what things we have planned for you this year. So we have web development track, we have hackathons, we have speaker sessions and special resources combined. The fourth and the last thing is how to be a pro in this domain. So I have a small roadmap laid out for you guys. So guys can follow that and you guys will definitely have a good grip over this complete thing. So let's start. Beginning with the introduction. So what is web development? What and web development technologies? So web development is nothing but it is just building and maintenance of websites. It basically consists of four phases, that is web design, web publishing, web programming, and database management. So me, when I was a child, so I always thought of making websites and apps and that hackerman feel that we get. And so with the help of this domain, you will definitely get that. Websites are basically divided into two components, that is front end and back end. The front end is the thing that you particular as a user will see on your desktop or your computer, and backend is what manages the website behind the stage. It is all the complications, all the calculations that are done in the backend. The routing and everything is done in the backend. So let's have a look at these two major components of web development. Moving on, we have front end technologies. So front end is a part of the website that you interact with or what you see on the screen. That's it. This is all about front end that you guys need to know. You will find thousands of definitions online, but this is a summarized explanation of front end technology. It is basically how information is rendered on the screen, how information is presented to the user. So you have animations, you have graphs, you have colors, everything that is all front end. And better the front end, better the user experience. Okay, so if you have YouTube and the other hand you have some government website, so definitely YouTube has a much more better user experience as compared to government website, because government websites are all dormant, they have no colors, just plain text and things are placed randomly. So better the user experience, better the front end, you'll love it. So learning front end is one part. So we start with it. Learning front end comprises of two parts, that is basics and the advanced parts. So basic comprises of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I guess you guys have must have heard about these three things in your school days. So I'll explain them in brief. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML helps in setting up the layout of your website. Okay, so if you want a container on the left, buttons at the bottom, a circle at the top, and sizing of all those elements, this is all done with the help of HTML. CSS is just for beautification of your website. So adding colors, adding roundings, adding shadows. So this is all done with the help of CSS. So CSS is further divided into two parts, that is pure CSS and CSS frameworks. So pure CSS is a thing wherein you have to write everything by yourself. So straight, that is you have to write everything from the scratch. That is pure CSS, and you must learn this because it really helps you to understand how actually things work out. And once you have mastered this, you can start with CSS framework. We have Bootstrap, we have Tailwind, we have Material UI. So what these frameworks do, they really save your time, and a lot of things are already predefined. Okay, so and it will definitely beautify your website. The third thing that we have is JavaScript. JavaScript adds dynamicity to your website and makes your website more interactive. So if you click on so if you go to any e-commerce website, okay, if you click on +1, zero changes from 0 to 1, and you have a +1 at the top of the cart. So this is all done using JavaScript. It makes your website more dynamic. Okay. So JavaScript is further divided. We have ES6, we have TypeScript, we have packet managers, but we won't focus on all those things, which these are a little bit of advanced parts. So initially, you all will be starting with Vanilla JS. So Vanilla JS, you have to write the complete functions by your own, and the corresponding changes will be reciprocated on your website. Once done with vanilla JS, you guys can start with jQuery. jQuery is also an excellent front-end JavaScript library which eases your task. Once this all comprises of the basic technologies. Once you have mastered this, you can start with front-end frameworks. So at the bottom you over here, I have three frameworks listed down. That is AngularJS, React, and Vue.js. So these frameworks ease your task of coding. They enhance code reusability, better state management, and data flow. So this was a brief overview about front-end technologies that you guys should learn. And at the right over here, I have a small photo which states that how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript combined make a complete product. Okay, so HTML is the structure, CSS is the presentation, the beautification, and JavaScript is the complete functionality. Okay, and also don't get distracted by the meme down there. Moving on to backend technologies. So backend is the complete, you can say it is a backstage of a website. Okay. It is a part of the website that the users cannot see, but it is the most essential thing of a website. Okay. And it basically performs the task of data storage, data management, authentication, sockets, and all other stuff is done on the backend. And the routing. This is all done in the backend. So for backend, we have a lot of languages in the market, and these are some of the most famous ones. So we have PHP, we have Node.js, we have Python, we have Ruby, Java, Golang, and C Sharp. Out of which I think that PHP, Node, and Python are the most famous ones among college students. And yes, the companies use Java, which is based on the Spring framework. So this is all about the backend thing. So obviously, when you have your own website, you'll be having your own data, right? So you'll need something to what can I say, to save your data. So we have databases for that. So databases are mainly categorized into two things, that is SQL and NoSQL based. So NoSQL we have MongoDB, and SQL based we have PostgreSQL, MariaDB, and MySQL. So I won't go into the details now. With your semesters, you'll understand how these things are working and which one to use. Moving on to the second thing on our agenda, will show you an example. So this is Google Meet. Okay, so I have been using this for 2 years now, and you guys will be also using it for coming 3 to 4 months, I think. So this is the basic layout of Google Meet. Okay, so as you can see over here, we have a chat section on the right. We have a screen share button, screen share complete container on the left. We have these participant boxes stacked up on one another. We have a small flash message at the top. So all this aligning of things, this positioning of things, this is all done with the help of HTML. HTML basically a rough sketch of what you want on your website, on what you want to show to the user. Okay, so once your rough sketch is ready, once your alignment of position of containers is ready, then you add colors to it. So you can see we have black color added over here. The chat section is white. The buttons are at the bottom over here. So we have rounded buttons. We have some oval buttons. We have a blue color when I'm speaking. So this is all CSS and JavaScript. So when you hover over someone's icon, okay, you have some hovering effect and a dynamic functionality. So that I have an option to mute the user, to paint the user, or to remove the user from my meet. This is done with the help of JavaScript. JavaScript in today modern world web apps is so powerful that it can also access your hardware and perform necessary operations. So audio transfer, video transfer, screen capture. This is all done JavaScript with the help of backend technologies. So this was about front end technologies. Now what about backend? Okay, so on the right over here we have a chat section. Okay, so how chat technologies actually work? It is the complete concept is backend based. Okay, so in layman's term, I can say that consider it as a pipeline between all the users present in a meet. Okay, so if I press the enter button with a message, the message will go to the central pipeline, and that will be distributed to everyone. So this is how things are actually working at the backstage. But you guys cannot see. We will just receive the messages, but this is how it is actually working. So this was it about how backend and front-end technologies are mixed to create robust web apps. Moving on, this is just an explanation that I gave. I have added it in the slide in case you guys want to refer it afterwards. Moving on, so what's in the making this year? We have web development track, we have hackathons planned, we have speaker sessions, and as I mentioned, we have resources compiled up for you guys. Starting with web development track will provide you with hands-on web development workshop with weekly sessions for live coding demos and special project ideas that will help you become a competent web developer. Along with this, you'll also have doubt-solving sessions by GDAC mentors and colleagues. The second thing is we have hackathons planned. Code of Duty is a 48-hour hackathon with mentors and colleges and college students from all over the country, and who will compete creating products and innovative things. And in case you guys win, you'll have a lots of prizes to take home. The third thing, we have speaker sessions. So GDAC Wow, it is a 7-day technological celebration which is hosted by more than 120 GDAC chapters all over India. And basically, it will have 5 days of webinars and workshops by industry leaders on domains like AI, ML, blockchain, and whatnot. And the fourth thing is the resources that we have compiled for you. At the end of my presentation, I'll add the chat link in the chat section. I'll add this link. Okay. Moving on. The final thing that I have planned up for you guys, me and Vishal have planned up for you guys, is to how a complete roadmap to become a pro at web dev. So this, the first thing is to learn the basic. This is the most important thing that you guys should focus on. Okay, because if you have weak basics, now all these things that I have planned ahead for you guys are of no use. So start with learning about web dev and get an overview about front end and back end technologies and how both of them are mixed, creating robust applications. Learn about DOM manipulation, back end services, everything. So along with the link that I'll post in the chat section, I have 3 other resources too. So we have YouTube crash courses, a free code camp and Traversy Media are the most famous YouTube channels where you get content for a free. Also, there is a platform called Udemy wherein there is an instructor called Cold Steel. He has a complete web development bootcamp course. It is a 47 to 48-hour long course. But trust me, guys, it is a very good course, and you guys will learn a lot with the big mega project. And to your SU, you always have online blogs and W3 schools to search about anything. The second thing is, once you know the ABCs, once you know how these technologies work, start making projects, be it anything, a blogging website, a social media website, or an e-commerce platform, or anything that you guys can think of. Start making it. But one thing that you should always think is, do not copy someone else's code. Okay, so if you take up a blogging website, okay, so there are thousands of people who have made projects on it. So you can easily copy code and make it your own project. But this is a thing that I would recommend that you should guys definitely not do. So code as much as you can do by yourself, because by doing this only you will learn the most. And in case you guys get stuck, definitely you guys will get stuck. You can use Stack Overflow, and you can also contact your seniors anytime. The third thing is dive deeper. Okay, so once you have made enough projects, once you have made 2 or 3 projects and you know the basics, you can start learning about front end frameworks like React, Angular, or Vue. You can also start exploring about other database systems like GraphQL, SQL, or new SQL based graph database systems. And once you have done this, you can learn about cloud hostings and start making projects on this. And by this time, I guess you will be internship ready, so you guys can go out in the world and start working as an intern under any startup. Hackathons. So the last thing that I'd recommend you guys is participate in hackathons and other events. So this is the place where you guys will able to learn the most, and your knowledge will be getting tested the most. Okay, so you guys will be having nearly 24 to 48 hours to complete a project on a problem statement that you guys would have never heard about. And also along with this, you will get to interact with your peers and various colleges and mentors and judges who are real world professionals. So I definitely love hackathons because you have to make a very good product under very small time span, which is really pressuring and really thrilling. So this is a short roadmap that I have prepared for you guys, and I guess this is pretty much that I had planned for this session. I hope you guys have learned a lot. So thank you. In case of you guys have any doubts, please post them in the chat section. I'll answer your doubts one by one. Or in case if you, or also you guys can also message me or Vishal, and we'll be happy to answer to all your doubts. So that's it from my side. Thank you guys.
Wow, that was such an edifying session. Now, I would request our app development leads, Aziz Dandawala and Abhay Ubale, to tell us about our next domain, that is app development.
So hello guys, myself Abhay Ubhare, and can you go to the next slide, Aziz? So myself, Abhay Ubade, I am the app development lead at GDSC VJTI. Along with me, we have Aziz Dandawala, also an app development lead at VJTI, at GDSC VJTI, and Prasad Thakare as our Android Study Jam facilitator. So let's get on to the topic of what is an application, right? So application is any software that solves a problem. Basically, it gives a solution to a problem. So what is a mobile application? You can say like any software that runs on your mobile phone that solves a problem, right? Next. So before going further, I would like to share some statistics related to application development. So there are 1.18 billion mobile phone connections. There are 700 million internet users and 600 million smartphones. So you can have an estimate about how many applications, if you make an app, then how many users can use your app, right? So next slide, please. So let's get on to the topic of how can you make an app, right? So it's very simple. First, find a problem and make a solution for it in an app, right? So is it that simple? But wait, no, it's not that simple. All right. So don't directly jump to the solution. So how does this even work, right? So you have an app idea. You say like, oh no, I have a Eureka, and this can be turned into an app. Let's make a startup out of it, or something like that. And you start immediately finding solution to that, right? So it doesn't work like that. So how does it even work? Well, here are some things that you should consider before developing an application, right? So next slide. Okay, so a person first should identify the problem. All right, and you should make a strategy about how you are going to make an application. You should set some goals or some objectives, basically, right? Small goals, and you should turn these goals into features. So this is basically a strategy or a complete plan of solving the problem or finding or going towards the solution of the problem, right? Sorry. Next slide. So how do you develop an app, right? How can you yourself make an application? So there are multiple languages, frameworks and all. So Flutter is one of the framework in which Dart language is used. And then we have Kotlin. All right. So Kotlin is a language. Now there is also Java in which you can develop your apps, and we can have a huge debate for Java versus Kotlin. So maybe we will save that for some other time. But in Kotlin, you can only make Android applications, or I would say, like in simple terms, an application that runs only on Android platform or Android operating system, basically. So what about iPhone, right? What about iOS? So Flutter is a framework in which you can make applications in, the Flutter application runs on both of these platforms, Android and iOS as well. So only for iOS, you have Swift, but then it is only limited to iOS, like Kotlin is only limited to Android. So in initial days, what used to happen before Flutter, and there are some cross-platform frameworks other than Flutter, which acts as same as Flutter. So in earlier days, what used to happen was you have to make Swift application just for iOS users, because you cannot bail out on iOS users, right? There are plenty of iOS users in maybe some other countries or even India if your application is India based. So if you are a professional company or something, you cannot just bail out on iOS users. So you have to make two applications, one in Swift, one in either Kotlin or Java in Android, and deploy them simultaneously, and then handle each of those applications parallelly. If you have to give an update, so you have to give an update to both of them. So it was quite a tedious work, all right. So many developers tried to find solution for this problem, and Google came up with Flutter. So you make application in Flutter using Dart language, and that application that app is compiled natively to Kotlin or Java in Android, and Swift in iOS when it is running on iOS. So that's how Flutter works. So I hope you might have gotten pretty much idea about how you can make applications. I mean, just how to start making an application, what are the languages and all, what are the frameworks that is used, right? Next slide. Okay, so like let's take an example of what are the things you should consider while making an application. It's not just about the language or the framework that you're using, but it's more about the user experience that you're providing to your user, right, through your app. So we will take an example of GPay or Google Pay, or initially known as TES. So yeah, next slide. Okay, so you can see here that you have this onboarding pages, right? So everything, the user data that Google wants is taken here. Now you can see the simplicity of their design, right? It's not that okay, I'm not gonna explain you कि यहाँ पे ये लोग number ले रहे हैं, यहाँ पे ये लोग policies. It's not about that. It's about the simplicity of the way they are asking your data, right? So the simplicity that's shown here. Now first is like the first representation shows authentication and user authentication. You authenticate the user using their phone number. Then you have this policy ka page, and then you have this secure Google Pay policy page, right? So look at their UI. Next slide. Yeah, so you can add your bank account and all in your GPay account. So it's the process is so simple, right? So you go on some websites and all, and you make or even on Amazon or Flipkart, you make your payments there. They will you first have to check out your card, and then verify the payment, and then have to like click 2-3 buttons and go through 2-3 steps, confirm your amount and all, and then they will add some taxes and all, and then you have to put your credit card details, bank details, blah blah blah, and then your payment is successful, right? Oh, okay. The presentation is stopped. I guess I will present. Wait. Yeah. So here we are. I hope it is visible. Yeah. So as I mentioned, there are too much tedious steps to even just set up your bank account, right? So Google has done it very simply. You just select your bank, allow Google to access your messages, and this allow GPay to send and view message, right? This is something native to your phone. Your phone will allow this if you click on this allow button. So your phone will allow your GPay to directly access your SMSs, right? So you don't have to put manually your OTP code and all. So it's that simple. And then just they will do all that process for you. They will find the bank account and the number. So with the phone number, they will just find your account number in the bank that you have selected and all. And that's all, right? So in here also, again, the key is the simplicity here. That is, everything that you need is on the home page only. Like if you want to scan a QR quickly to pay someone, you have this QR option. You have recent people that you have had transactions with. If you want to make a new payment, you can click on the new payment button. If you want to pay to some businesses like Swiggy or Zomato or Jio or Airtel or something, or Uber, so you can just go and pay them for whatever their like respective payment was. So even in the second the middle one, mobile phone screen, so you can have this UPI option. Nowadays UPI like UPI payment is quite fast, and it has 0% taxes or charges, right? So with all these features that user want, they are very easily provided to you, and that's the simplicity, and that's the key for gaining a better user experience. Or again, here I won't explain this slide because like you can see you have eyes and you might, most of you people have used GPay. So just for an illustration, again, what simple features are there, you can just search and all, and you can find your people or recent transactions and all. So I hope you might have got an idea about what app development is, how can you make apps, and ultimately become the Chintu mobile app developer and have this amazing resume. So I mean, I'm just kidding, okay? So I hope you might have got an overview, and that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was indeed an explanatory and intuitive session. I request Vedanti Shivsagar, our ML lead, to brief us about her domain.
All right, I'll share the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
All right. Greetings, everybody. I'm Vedanti Shivsagar, the ML head of GDSC VJTI. So today we'll be learning about the basics of machine learning. So I'm the ML head. So we know that humans learn from their past experiences, right? And machines follow the instructions given by the humans. But what if humans can train machines to learn from their past data and do what humans can do, but much faster? Well, that's machine learning, but it's a little more than just learning. It's also about understanding and reasoning. So let's say this is Rohan. He loves listening to new songs. So he either likes them or dislikes them. So he decides this on the basis of the song's tempo, intensity, genre, and gender of voice. For simplicity, for now, we'll be using tempo and intensity. So as you can see, tempo is on the x-axis ranging from relaxed to fast, and intensity is on the y-axis ranging from light to soaring. Rohan likes songs with soaring intensity and high tempo, while dislikes the songs with light intensity and relaxed tempo. This is what you can infer from the graph, right? So this is what Rohan likes. So now that we know know Rohan's choices, let's say he listens to a new song. Let's say song A. So song A has a fast tempo and a soaring intensity. So it lies somewhere in the circle with green dots, as you can see in the left graph. Looking at the data, can you guess if he likes the song or dislikes it? You can put the answer in the chat box.
Guys, you can answer Vedanti in the chat box. If you want, she can repeat the question. Vedanti, can you repeat? Okay, you got the answer.
Yeah. That's correct. He likes the song. So looking at Rohan's past choices, we were able to classify the unknown song very easily. Let's say now there's a new song, B. So song B has medium intensity and medium tempo, and it lies as shown here. Can you see the arrow? That is where song B lies, right in the middle of two circles. So now can you guess if he likes it or not? All right, so this got a little complicated, right? So it was easier to classify song A, but when the song choice became a little complicated, as in the case of song B, that's where ML comes in. Let's see how in the same example for song B. So if we draw a circle around song B, we see that there are 4 votes for like and 1 for dislike. If we go for the majority votes, we can say that Rohan will definitely like the song. That's all. This was a basic ML algorithm, and it is called as K nearest algorithm, K nearest neighbor algorithm. So this was just a small sample in one of the many machine learning algorithms. So So there are many ways a machine learns. It could be either supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So I won't be explaining reinforcement learning for now, but I'll be telling you what supervised and unsupervised is ऊपर से. Okay, so let's move on to supervised learning. So suppose you're a 5-year-old invited to some birthday party. From your past experience, you know how to differentiate between a girl and a boy, depending on certain characteristics. So as people enter through the gate, you can classify them as a girl or a boy. So in the case of a machine, the machine is fed a gender data set with labeled pictures of girls and boys, and it is fed into the system, and the model is trained based on the pictures. Thereafter, if you show a picture of a girl or a boy to the machine can tell you if it is a girl or a boy. So that is how it learned based on the labeled data that we provided. So supervised learning is nothing but it just uses labeled data to train the model. So that's supervised. Now let's move on to unsupervised learning and see the difference. Now, okay, let's assume you have a cricket data set of various players with their names, their scores, and their wickets. So we feed this data set into the machine. The machine identifies the pattern of the player performance. So it will plot the data as shown, with the respective player wickets on the x-axis while the runs on the y-axis. I hope you can see the graph. So there are two clusters, as you can clearly see. So one cluster consists of the players who scored high runs and took less wickets. And the other one consists of the players who scored less wickets and, who scored more wickets and less runs. So here we interpret that these two clusters are batsmen and bowlers. The important point to note here is that we didn't tell the machine, pehle se, that this was a batsman, this was a bowler. It found out on its own. So that is what is unsupervised learning. Hence, the learning with unlabeled data is unsupervised learning. So here are a few applications of machine learning that you can see in Google. So your Google Voice Assistant, there's image recognition, which we call as Google Lens. So now you can scan images and find answers during your exams. So that is Google Lens, and that is ML related application. Then there's Google Voice Recognition. So when you say OK Google, the voice assistant can hear you and can answer you back. So that is also an ML application. Then, as you've noticed, there's autocomplete of text. Like when you type half a word, the word completes itself. That is also under ML. And then there are recommendation systems. So when you're typing something in Google search bar, it recommends you certain options. So that is also ML. So in ML, we have upcoming events, which is the Kaggle competition. There are going to be ML workshops and also guest speaker sessions. Okay, so how do you start ML exactly? So one thing that is very important is you learn Python. Okay, then you revise your statistics. Now this is very important. I've seen a lot of people jumping right onto ML, but that is now not how it is done. So you revise your statistics and then you start with the ML concepts. So after this session, along with the resources, I'll be sharing the resources if you want to start ML too. Yeah, so that's it. If you have any questions, you can shoot it in the chat box.
Vedanti, we have a question in the chat section. Will the ML workshop contain Naive-based SVM, NN, CV, and other algorithms? I checked out the GitHub repository and it wasn't there, so I asked.
So we'll be choosing topics one by one. Obviously, I cannot teach everything at once. But yeah, if you want us to include this, we'll definitely include it, but one by one.
There is one more question that without learning coding, can we first learn ML?
I think you'll have to learn Python irrespective of this. So Python is very easy. Even if you're a non-coder, I think you can manage Python very easily, especially the ML part. It is not like it doesn't involve data structures and algorithms, so you can definitely try.
How long does Python take to learn?
So there's this course by Jose Porcella. I'll be sharing the link along with the resources. So it depends on you actually. So you can learn the basic Python
Okay,
there.
so I guess we can move. Should I learn Python or Google's course? See, Ganesh, it's up to you. Wherever you feel that okay, this course is interesting, you can take up that course because the most important thing is learning. So I guess we can continue now. Aishwarya, you can.
Yeah. Amazing. It was a very informative session with real life examples. Now, I would like to welcome our cloud lead Pankaj Khashlani and our cloud facilitator Sara Tisekar and request them to tell us about their domain.
Thank you, Aishwarya. So, hi guys. I am Pankaj Kushlani, and I'll be taking you through the overview and an introduction to what is cloud computing and what we do at GDSC VJTI about cloud computing. So here is our team, our core team, which consists of I, Pankaj Kushlani. I am the cloud computing lead and a third year student of information technology. With me, I have Rakesh Rajpurohit, who is also the cloud computing lead of the club and is also a student of third year information technology. And along with us, we have Sara Tisekar, who is the Google Cloud facilitator of the club and is a third year student of computer engineering. So let's see what will be covered today in with regards to the cloud computing domain. First, going to the introduction, what is cloud, where do you see cloud, then some examples of different cloud services, and then what's in store for you this year. So beginning with what exactly is cloud? ये cloud होता क्या है? Definitely not what you see in the sky, but let me give you the class definition, which is cloud refers to servers that are accessed over the internet and the software and databases that run on those servers. So there is some remote machine that is running and you are able to access that over the internet. So there is this diagram on the right that you can see where you have a laptop, which you can consider the laptop or the phone that you have with you right now, and you're joined into Google Meet. And there is some remote machine, there is some machine or some laptop or some big server that is placed anywhere around the world, and it is helping out all of us, the 200 and more of us, to be connected. So you're accessing the cloud resources by being a part of this software, this application, which is Google Meet. So yes, you are currently using cloud. And let me give you another example for making it simple. So we use Google Drive every other day because we all use Google Classroom for attending classes and for the different resources that our teachers post. So you access a remote server to store your files over the internet and access them via a service which is called as Google Drive. So you also use a cloud service which is Google Drive every other day. And let me give you a hint as to what actually powers this Google Drive, what actually is making this work. And that is Google Cloud Platform. Google Cloud Platform is something that we dive deeper in this cloud computing domain at GDSC VTI. So more details about it, I will give you later on. But before that, I told you that cloud is some remote machine, some server placed anywhere around the world. But ये cloud कहाँ पे है? So where is this cloud? So this is how the big warehouses, the big basements of these servers, these computers look like. So that is one of the machine that is actually powering this Google Meet right now. So that's amazing that this machine could be anywhere in the world and it is making it possible for us to be in this Google Meet. But when I talk about Google Cloud Platform, where could these machines be? So here is a map of all the different Google Cloud Platform data centers that are present. So in Mumbai, there are two centers. So if you live in Mumbai or if you have been to Mumbai, so let me tell you that The two centers are in Kurla West, BKC, and one is in Andheri. So not that you can visit them, but these data centers are here in Mumbai. So now that we know what is cloud and where is this cloud exactly, so let me tell you about the different services that are there, which cloud can offer you. So there are these short forms that you may not be familiar with. So let's begin with the bottom of the pyramid, which is IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. Infrastructure as a service is where we need to deal with both the software and the hardware resources. So hardware is the machine that you are getting on rent. That is, there are these cloud platforms such as Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and many more, from who you take these machines on rent for some time, and you are able to develop your software on it. You are able to manipulate the hardware that is there. So you get to do all of that with infrastructure as a service, cloud services. And the examples of those are Google Compute Engine, Microsoft Azure, and DigitalOcean. So Google Compute Engine is a part of Google Cloud Platform, and we're using that a lot in a program that we call as 30 Days of Google Cloud Platform, and we hold that every year in October. So more details about that will be given later. And there is also Microsoft Azure, and there is DigitalOcean as well. So DigitalOcean, those ads on YouTube, you might have seen a lot of those. So they are also such a provider of infrastructure as a service. Then we move on to a level above in the pyramid, which is platform as a service. So platform as a service is a service where we only need to deal with the software, not the underlying hardware. We do not care the machine which is running it, the specifications of the machine. We just know that our software will properly run on it. So as an application developer, if you develop websites, mobile application servers, and then you will get to know that you need such machines on which you can run your software. So you can get this hardware on rent on your website or any other application on it. So examples of those are Heroku, there's GitHub, Netlify, and many other options. And the Google Cloud Platform's offering is Google App Engine. So Google App Engine is another thing that you will be learning further on in October under the 30 Days of Google Cloud program. So you might not be familiar with these different platforms that I just said, such as GitHub, Netlify, Heroku, but you will become familiar with them later on as we go ahead with the year. So platform as a service is something a developer definitely needs to understand and use and learn. And we go another step above to the software as a service. Now, software as a service is where our only concern is the use of the software. So you use different applications, maybe mobile websites, Google Meet that you're currently using, YouTube. So all of these come under software as a service. So where we only are concerned in accessing or using these services, and they are hosted on cloud. So that was all about the different cloud services, how they're categorized, what is cloud, where is cloud. Now the next part, which is about the different events that we have in store for you this year, will be taken ahead by Sara Tisekar.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Sara Tisekar, the Google Cloud Facilitator for GDSC VJTI. So what exactly is the 30 Days of Google Cloud program? So this program will basically provide you an opportunity to kickstart your career in cloud, and it will give you hands-on practice on Google Cloud, which is the tool that powers so many apps like Google Search, Gmail, YouTube, and all of those things. So along the way, you will learn and practice concepts like computing, big data, machine learning using cloud. Coming to the syllabus of the program, so this program will introduce you to computing, application development, big data, machine learning using Google Cloud's training platform called Google Cloud Skills Boost, where you will learn each of these topics using self-paced labs that provide you temporary credentials to Google Cloud. So you can learn the cloud using the real thing, no simulations. Now, to make it convenient, they have divided the topics into two different tracks. That is the cloud engineering track and the data science and machine learning one. So the cloud engineering track will basically teach you about GCP infrastructure and how to use all of that. And the second track will teach you how to leverage cloud for big data and ML tasks. Now, when is this held? This is held in October every year. Now, apart from the skills that you gain, what else is in store for you? So, the skills and badges that you get, you can show off all those in your resume or on your LinkedIn profile. And you also get Google Cloud goodies. See, you can see Pankaj is wearing that, and I think even Abhay was wearing it. Yeah. So those awesome t-shirts and goodies, all of them are in store for you. So these are the resources. We have conducted like study jams for completing like the syllabus and completing the major concepts that would be required for you to go ahead and complete the all the the labs that are there. And also the GitHub repository has resources for both the track 1 and 2. You can also join our Slack channel, that is the Google Cloud. uh, yeah, and we have successfully had like 150 people complete both the tracks in the past 2 years. So I hope to see all of you completing the track this year, sir. Thank you. Any doubts? Please ask us in the chat.
Okay, so we do have a couple of doubts. And so Samruti Patil asked that do we have to pay for the 30 days of Google Cloud program? Not a single penny, not a single dollar. When you register via GDSC VJTI's form that you get in October, you will be getting 300 credits. That is equivalent to 300 USD. So you get to use all of that throughout the month of October. And with the help of that, you can get hands-on experience to learn infrastructure as a code, platform as a service, and all of that which Google Cloud Platform offers. So if we have any other question, where to access all these resources, we'll be sharing the presentation, the slides with you after compiling these presentations, and you'll be able to access them. Yes, Aditya, we'll be going over these instructions and whatever is necessary when the event comes in, which is in October. And Srived asked when GSOC starts. It starts in April, I guess, and we do give guidance. If you want to participate in Google Summer of Code, we do promote open source a lot. As we develop several applications, open source applications, we develop client projects, different projects. So we do promote open source a lot at our club. Ganesh, you can follow the links that we have in the slides. We'll be sharing them with you, and you can learn more about what is the 30 days of Google Cloud program. And to get goodies, you need to complete any one of the tracks, which is either cloud engineering track or the data science and machine learning track, which we'll have in October, and you will get further details about that later on. So I guess that was all for the doubts. And if you have any other doubt regarding the cloud computing domain or any other domain, do put them in the chat. We'll take them up later. So back to you, Aishwarya.
Wow, that was such an insightful and comprehensive session. Now, I request Shreyas Pinkar and Arnav Ganatra, our cybersecurity leads, to brief us about their domain.
Okay, is it visible? I believe it is visible.
Yes,
Okay.
it is visible.
Hello, I am Arnav, and I am one of the leads for GDSC enthusiasts. So, what is cybersecurity? Why have we hosted this enthusiast platform? We wanted to scheme to fulfill all your ethical hacking and cybersecurity needs. That includes teaching as well, obviously. And we have a lot of resources. We want to develop a community for cybersecurity because it is a very important topic and generally it is taken very lightly. So when we talk about cybersecurity, the word hacking comes in our mind. So what is hacking? Hacking is, well, it's not necessarily something malicious. It could also mean the art of modifying the features of a system or an application in order to accomplish a different goal, something that was not intended. Like you make something to fulfill a purpose, but you can use that application to do something else as well, something that was not thought of by the developer. Now, what is ethical hacking? Ethical hacking is where there's a systematic approach to securing systems, finding vulnerabilities. So it is the authorized practice of hacking, like any other malicious hacker, to evaluate target systems for finding the weaknesses and vulnerabilities and reporting back to the owner. So you get permission to hack, and if you find vulnerabilities, you get paid. Lot of types of hackers you will come across on the web. Firstly, you have white hat hackers. That's what you should be. Uh, then there's black hat hackers that you shouldn't be. And then there is a gray area between these two. It's called a gray hat. So a gray hat may or may not have bad intentions. It's sort of a gray area. You can't tell the difference. But generally, they break rules to do good things. One example would be hacktivism. Then there are script kiddies. Script kiddies are those that use uh, tools made by other people to do, I don't know. DDoS. DDoS is not a very good skill. Please don't DDoS people. Don't email bomb people. We had an incident the other day. Someone took our phone numbers and email and SMS bombed us. Please don't do that. If you do that, you're a script kiddie. So why do hackers hack? Of course, we want to make money, right? But some people, they want to be challenged. They have a certain personality. They want to feel challenged. Some people, well, they want to build their resume, and we want to have fun, right? Security testing and pen testing. What is security testing? It is checking the security mechanisms, finding the security flaws. It is also called a vulnerability assessment. Penetration testing, on the other hand, is exploiting those weaknesses and demonstrating that this is how someone can break into a system. And in terms of cybersecurity, vulnerability is it is that flaw which allows you to break into a system. A lot of branches of cybersecurity. Uh, you have network defense. So many of you might have studied networking in your free time. Nahi hua to it's okay. You will learn about it. Uh, then there's malware analysis. Anyone knows WannaCry? So WannaCry was one of the most dangerous ransomwares out there in the wild. Obviously now it's been patched and it's no longer. A lot of security products are providing keys for the malware so that you can decrypt your stuff back. So that's where the malware analysts came in play and helped breaking this ransomware. And there is digital forensics. If you want to work with law enforcement for computer forensics, this is the way to go. And there's intrusion detection where you're detecting intrusions, literally attempts to hack. Someone's scanning my port. Oh no. Okay, I detected this IP address is scanning my port. And then there's application security. Application security, you'll see a lot of applications on the web. A lot of these are websites and they all have certain flaws. So maybe there's a cross-site scripting reflected vulnerability where you inject some JavaScript and it pops an alert to anyone who visits that website. Now, the phases of ethical hacking. First is obviously you'll gather as much information about your target. Is it a server? Is it a domain? What is it? I'm trying to understand. Then there is the threat modeling. We look at we look at certain ways, potential ways to break into it. Then you will do the analysis for those things. You look for vulnerabilities. Once you found it, you exploit. Now the fifth stage may or may not be used by white hats, but it's definitely used by black hats. तुम्हारा webcam चालू कर देंगे तुम्हारे पीसी में घुस के. They'll download all your files, steal your credentials. But we are white hats, so we report this, which comes to 6 reporting. So to become an ethical hacker, you need to have some skill, and you will be learning a lot of web, HTML, Java, Python. You need to know networking. You need to understand Linux operating systems. You need to understand the Linux kernel. You need to know how to use the command line. And there is hardware, how paging works, how memory works, how hard disks work. तुम्हारे क्विज में था एक DOS क्या होता है, disk operating system. You need to know how that works as well. And there's reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is where you have binaries. You put them inside a debugger. You try to analyze, put breakpoints, try to find flaws. And there's cryptography. Uh, Cryptography is like it's like a puzzle solving thing. But generally, you're not supposed to break the math. You're supposed to break its implementation. क्यों चाहिए हमें hackers दुनिया में? अगर कोई hack ही नहीं करेगा तो problems ही solve हो जाएंगी ना? Well, ऐसा नहीं है. Someone will be there. Someone smart enough will be there to take advantage of vulnerabilities. So ethical hacking is an emerging tool. Sorry. Ethical hacking is emerging field, and organizations are using this, are using skilled hackers to find these risks and to secure them. Uh, Companies will have a lot of losses when hackers break in and do really bad things, like defacing a website, and it's bad for business. It's very bad for business, believe it or not. So I think okay. So why even do cybersecurity? What if I'm not good enough? Well, there are a lot of postings people are learning, and you'll see the as of 2010 to 14, all the IT postings are at 28%, and the cybersecurity postings are at 91%. So all the IT folks are boosting their career and going into cybersecurity, and there is a lot of demand for these people because they are skilled. They know how hackers operate. They know what exactly they can do, and because they know that, they can defend systems well. So people with such skills are in demand, and the pay is not a joke. It's pretty good. If you work in cybersec in the future, you have a lot. You have a lot in store. Obviously, you will need more experience for a better pay. So now, if you want to work in cybersecurity, you need to have certain certifications. Uh, I recommend offensive security and SANS, but if you're completely new, you should try CompTIA because you'll need to know certain networking basics. You see Network Plus and Security Plus, Pentest Plus. So these are like proving grounds. If you have the certification, you can work in cybersecurity. And offensive security especially has so many hands-on labs. If you pass the exam, you're a certified ethical hacker. You are good. Like you've proven yourself. Now you must have heard the term what is bug bounty hunting. So okay, I love this field, bug bounty. These people are the best. They're the luckiest people on earth. They don't work for anybody. They're their own bosses, and they sit at home and they find vulnerabilities and they get paid just like that. They don't have to work 8 hours a day, go to an office. They're their own bosses. So it's a jargon for a reward given for finding and reporting a bug in a particular software or product. Many IT companies offer these types of incentives to drive product improvement and get more interaction from end users or clients. So it's like a win-win situation where, okay, I made a product and someone else is testing it for me. If they found a bug, I'll pay them, I'll patch it, and then I'll increase the reward, saying, okay, I've patched this vulnerability. So if you find a bug now, I'll pay you more. So that gives people drive. And of course, money is the drive. So you must have come across popular bug bounty programs. HackerOne is one of them. This is just a timeline of bug bounty. And they also get paid a lot. Microsoft offers $100,000 for bug bounty. Why? I don't know, but they they are really offering a lot of money. But the difficulty is, well, it's proportional. So Microsoft, it must be harder to find bugs in Microsoft, which is why they're offering so much. Maybe they're that confident about their systems, but you never know. You might find something. Any questions? Uh, Please join this Discord link. We have a lot of resources and we have a community. We discuss things related to hacking, cybersecurity.
Yes or no, there is a question in the chat box. What is the difference between ethical hacking and normal one?
Ethical hacking, in simple terms, in ethical hacking, you are allowed, and in normal hacking, you're not allowed. You're not supposed to do. If you're doing normal hacking, you're basically breaking the law. But for ethical hacking, you sign papers, you do a lot of paperwork, you sit with lawyers. Uh, what is red?
There is one more question. What is a Red Hat hacker?
So sorry, I had to. Okay, Red Hat hackers, right? So Red Hat hackers are like cyberpunks. Something you should not be. It's not a very applaudable profession to being a black hat, red hat. Don't be one of those people. Be a white hat. Actually, there are a lot of definitions as to these red hats and green hats and blue hats. There are a lot of hats, and a lot of people have different uh, definitions as to what those hats' intentions are. Is any programming language required for learning this course? Which course? We have a lot of courses. Uh, Not necessarily, no, you don't need to have a lot of programming language, but it is good if you have it. Does hacking need anything extra? Curiosity and a functioning brain, that's all you need. And a little persistence. You shouldn't be giving up easily. Finding a bug, you need to sit. You need to sit down, spend hours on it. Programming language for Python. Python is definitely a good. Python has so many modules that you can use for pen testing?
There is one more question. What is the basic idea we need to have for bug bounty?
Basic idea. Can you elaborate on that question? Who asked that question? What is the-
Khushbu.
Yes, Rohit, because it is so simple to script and the modules are so easy to use. Everyone is using Python. Do we have to learn Kali? See, you don't have to learn an operating system. An operating system is something you use. And Kali Linux happens to have all the tools you need for pen testing or hacking. That is why you use Linux, Kali Linux.
Okay, so for remaining doubts, we can take in the Q&A session, which we will be having at the end of this meet. So you can put your doubts again there. So Aishwarya, you may take on now.
Thank you, Arnav. It was a very great and revealing session. Now, it's time to see what all GDSE offered previous year. It's time to look at the video of glimpses of past year. Are you all excited to know who are the winners of the quiz? So I request Riddhi to unveil the winners.
The winners are already unveiled, I guess. That's completely all right. So the winners of the quiz are Lagbib Ansari, who got the first place. Then we have Pranav Shukla at the second place, and then we have Shreya Khato at the third place. So congratulations to you guys, and you will soon receive your reward. Maybe. I mean, okay, you will receive your reward. Don't worry.
Congratulations to all the winners. And now it's time for the doubt session. Feel free to ask your doubts. We will try our level best to resolve all of them. Quiz answers.
Yes, sure. We will release this quiz responses to you guys so that even you can add it to your knowledge. Okay, so now it's time for Q&A. So now if you have any questions regarding the club, regarding us, regarding the college, or regarding any domain, you can ask us in the chat section and we will try to answer your questions. So yeah. Okay, Samruddhi.
Now, when will the workshop start?
Okay, so Samruddhi, the cybersecurity campaign it's going on. Like it has already started from 10th January, and you can even join the Discord link for enthusiasts to know more about that campaign. Right? Will you teach cloud from basic? Okay, Yash. So see, whatever resources Google provides, there are two tracks actually in cloud. One is for beginners, and the other one is an advanced track. So we have resources, we have videos in which we have taught cloud from the basics. So you can always refer that.
Shreyas asks, what are the languages which I should complete before participating in hackathon?
Okay, so any one of our domain leads and facilitators or a core team member would like to take up this question?
Yeah, sure. I would like to take this question. So it's not really about the language, but it's about the ideas that you have. So more often, before participating in a hackathon, there are problem statements released. So you can think of an application or a website or something like, and even a website is an application. When I say application, it doesn't just mean mobile phone application. So an application is basically a software, right? So the you can think of an application, whether it be a web app or a mobile phone app, and you can then find the tech stack needed to make that or create that idea, right? So if you have something which would something like statistics or something, so it would look nice on a website rather than on an app. Or if you have something like a chatting feature or maybe some social media kind of applications, it would be more suited in a mobile phone application, right? So it depends on your idea, that what language, what framework, or what technologies you should go with. But having basic knowledge, if you say you have basic knowledge about, let's say, web development, so you can find your ideas in that, but such that you can implement it in a website, right? So before going to the hackathons.
Thank you,
I
Abhay.
hope it clears.
I guess, yeah, I guess it clears your doubt. So Onkar has this one doubt, that will these courses schedule clash with the timetable of ours? No, Onkar. Generally, we keep study jams or workshops on weekends, and if we wish to keep it on any weekday, then we keep it after 5:30 or after 6 p.m. Since even we have college, so yeah, it won't clash with your college.
Samruddhi asking, can we join all the domains and are the workshops limited to FYs?
Not, there is no limitation to anything, to year or to branch. Even if you are from a circuit branch, you can still join any workshop of your own interest. Yeah, so there is no limitation as such.
How to begin programming from scratch?
So if any core member would like to take up this question. Uh, can you please repeat the question once again, Aishwarya?
Yeah. How to begin programming from scratch?
Okay, so beginning programming from scratch is like you first need to learn a language properly, be it C++ or Java. And after learning the basics of a language, you can start learning DSA, that is data structures and algorithms. And with along with learning DSA, side by side, you can start with development. Okay, so it's like for an example, if I say that I started learning Java, okay, this is my own experience that I started learning Java first, and then I learned the DSA in Java, like using Java. And since I knew Java, I started with Android app development. Okay, so it's like I did DSA and development simultaneously.
Does this club expects us to have some prior knowledge regarding coding for entering field of any domain, or are we taught here from scratch?
Uh, okay, so you see, you are in first year right now, so we don't expect you to have prior knowledge, because you are here to learn from us, right? So you can, and hence this is the reason why we organize study jams, and we teach everything from scratch. Okay, you can even watch our Android study jam videos, which are available on YouTube, and we have started it from scratch. We have started making a project, and side by side teaching you this Android concepts. So it's like I don't think so there is any prerequisite from our side.
When will the web or app development workshops be conducted?
Okay, so the web development track will be conducted soon, I guess, before June itself. About the app development workshop, it will be conducted in November. But the app development workshop is actually I mean, the campaign is actually over. It started from November, and then it got over in January. So yeah, so you can still watch the videos on YouTube, and even this year we will have the same campaign for Android, but it will be starting November, May, so not soon. Yeah, not so soon, but yes, you can still refer the resources. We have plenty of resources on the same thing. Okay, and we even have a Google course that you can refer to. Wait, we will send the link in the chat, so you can go to that particular link, and there are several units. Like completing those units, you can learn Android app development.
YouTube link is shared in the chat box, Mangesh. And now to the next question. Are all these courses certified?
Okay, so certified, yeah, we do provide certificates when you complete a campaign. For example, just now we completed our Android campaign, and we are tracking the progress of students who completed those units on the link which I told about just now. So if you complete those units, then we provide certificates from our side.
And also, Riddhi, I would like to add that
Yes.
if you complete such as the 30 days of Google Cloud program or the Kotlin Android course, you get to give the exams that are a part of the Google certification. You also get a discount on giving those courses that will make you professionally certified for those as well. So the Kotlin Android course that we take up, that will help you prepare for the Google Android Developer Associate exam. So that will completely help you out in clearing that exam.
Yes, yeah, even your point is valid, and yes, these are some benefits. Exam.
Pranav
No,
is asking.
Arnav is joking.
Yeah, Arnav is joking. Don't worry. We don't charge anything we don't charge, for anything, for any workshop or for any session.
And guys, you don't have to wait for learning a topic. You don't have to wait for any of our events for our workshop because you are constantly connected to us via WhatsApp, via socials, via Slack workspace. So hit us up on these platforms because we are constantly there to help you out in progressing in these domains.
Yes, this is the QR code. Scaba, like you can scan this and you can join the Slack workspace. No, the certification thing via Google. What's the fee for that? Oh,
Okay,
Pankaj.
Aditya, that varies a lot. You can either apply for a scholarship or for people who are part of GDSE, you get 80% off on the fee. So that's a really big advantage of being a part of our club. But you don't need to worry much about that certification because making those projects and learning, having that knowledge is more than enough than a certificate. That is definite. That I'll tell you for sure.
Okay, so are there any more questions, Aishwarya? Like, can you please?
Yes. Before starting DSA, do we have to fully learn a language, every single topic?
According to me, you don't have to be, an expert in any language before starting DSA. Okay, so it's like you learn the basics first, and then you can start learning DSA concepts, and then you can apply, like you can solve problems related to DSA using the language that you learned. So, if anyone of the core members would like to add some points to this.
Right, you can't be an expert at any programming language. So whatever language that you learn, you will never be able to complete all of those concepts because even we haven't learned all of this, and you don't need to know everything about a programming language. So learning the basics of a language can help you to start with learning DSA. That's for sure.
Uh, okay, so what's the usage of Slack platform?
Yes. So Slack is actually used a lot professionally, and we use it for communicating. So it has several channels where which are arranged in a topic wise. So there you can join in on those channels, and you can freely converse regarding to that topic. And we also have Slack provides us different features that are not normally there on WhatsApp or other platforms. So there are threads, you can add reactions, you can edit the text, you can add code, you can integrate with GitHub, and there are many benefits of Slack. So it is basically WhatsApp, but for professionals. So that is simply put.
Yes, exactly. So the next question is there any domain for game development? There is no domain yet for game development under GDSC VJTI, but if you know there are more students who are interested in learning this domain, then we can have it next year. Why not?
Prathamesh, as told already, you don't have to fill any form for joining GDSC. You're already connected with us through the WhatsApp groups or the Slack, so you just need to join us there.
Yes,
Maybe we
exactly.
can rethink on the 2000 rupees entry fee.
Yeah, yeah. And what else is there? Okay, I already know a bit of blockchain, and GDSC was like, that's a new domain to explore. So how can I contribute? Anyone would like to take this up?
So that's amazing. If you are in your first year and you know a bit of blockchain development, so that's great. And you can, if you have a project idea or you would like to contribute to one of our projects by using blockchain technology, so will be welcome. So you can contact any of the leads. You have Bhavya Mehta, Vishal Patil, who can help you in taking integrating blockchain technology with one of the web applications that we will be building or we currently have. So get in touch. That's simply that I would say.
Yes, exactly. So do we have more doubts, Aishwarya?
No, I can't see any.
Yeah, I guess we cleared all of them. Either I can apply for a scholarship or for the Google certification program.
Yes, you can apply for a scholarship and avail 80% off on those.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, you don't need to worry much about those Google certificate programs because the projects that you develop, the knowledge that you take away from the events that you attend and the workshops, that would be more valuable than getting certified.
And what else way is there other than scholarship? Way to what, Aditya?
Aditya, can you simply mention what is the what domains are you interested in? Because I see you are interested in blockchain, but Google does not, or any other organization does not have such a certification for blockchain. So, if you could be, if you could mention that, that would be great.
Yes.
For web dev, okay. For web dev, there isn't such certification. There's an Angular course that Google Developers offers. So if you're interested in Angular, you can take up that course, but not for not a certification course for web development because web development is quite a broad field. Yes, Android Dev has a course, even Web Dev has a course by Google Developers, but Web Dev does not have a certification by Google.
So I hope that clears your doubt, Aditya. Any other doubts? Please feel free to ask if you have any doubt.
Something related to app development because I forgot to take the conversation for that.
What are the certificate courses GDSE offers? Okay, Shreyas. So, see, after completing every campaign, we track your progress, and if you have completed the, a given amount of syllabus, or if you have scored a good marks in certain in any quiz that we keep during that campaign, then you receive a certificate from us, right? But as Pankaj told you earlier, that for cloud, when you complete any track, maybe if you complete both the tracks, then you get goodies from GDSE, and yeah, you receive
And you
certificate.
also get skill badges, and skill
Yeah,
badges
skill
are those
badges
you
as well.
can actually use. You can put in your resume that you have completed the 30 days program, or that you have on your LinkedIn or on your resume. So those are something that you can show off professionally, those skill
Yeah,
badges.
exactly. The skill badges are important, correct? Then I would explore much more.
Aditya, there is not any other way to reduce the fee, and you don't need to worry much about the fee because being a member of GDSC, you can apply for the scholarship and you will get it, which is 80% off on the fee. But you being an FY, I wouldn't say that you have to worry much about the certification exam because if you have that interest in AppDev, let's first learn AppDev together. That you have a lot to explore. There is Flutter, there is Kotlin. If you have Apple products, you can go for iOS development. So there is a lot that you can explore before getting into that certificate program.
Thank you, Aditya,
Thank you,
for joining.
Aditya.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Did we miss something, Aishwarya?
No, I can't see anything that we missed out. I think all are taken.
Yeah, even I think all doubts are taken. Okay, so I see there are no other. Oh, how can I be a founder of game?
बनाओ एक game बनाओ. I think
I think
last year only we had someone who made a 2D game in Unity. तो तुम भी बनाओ.
बनाओ पहले game बनाओ and then submit it to us and we will promote your game on our social media
Yeah.
hand. Yes. Oh wow, you
really
made a
3D game,
3D
very
वाला
good,
बिंदास.
very good. Animation वगैरह भी होगा फिर तो. Mocap data लिया होगा.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
sure.
definitely.
sure.
Please share the video.
Yeah, please share.
Nice.
Wow, great, great. So sharing it right now. Should we stop the presentation?
Okay, show it off on the F5 groups. We'll love to see it.
Yeah, show it. Show us on the F5 group or send us like any one of us on personal message. That will do. Mm. If you feel okay, how you all used to contribute in GDSC in F5s. Okay, so when we were in first year, when the college was offline, GDSC VJTI was not established. GDSC VJTI was founded in the year 2020. Okay, so yeah, when we were in first years, the club was not there, but right now, yes, it is
But what
there.
the F5s before you used to do, they used to simply attend our events, take away all the
Yeah.
knowledge, build projects. So
Yes.
your learners, that is, who were F5s at that time, they were part of the web development track, and they took away the learnings of HTML, CSS, and JS from that. So definitely, you can attend all of the workshops, be active on the WhatsApp groups, our socials, Slack workspace. So all the time to learn. That's what you're doing first year.
Yes,
So
exactly.
all the speakers Aditya are third years and the
Except
host
me.
is second year.
Except for Ashwin.
Right.
Yeah, she's from second year. Uh,
So
okay.
currently, the team consists of third year students who are in the core team, and we have team members who are from SY.
Yes. So currently our SYs are contributing to organizing the events, and they would be contributing in future for teaching as well. So yes.
If you have any doubt, Rohit, then sure, you can stay back and ask us, or
Okay, Yash Raj, we will check it out. And if we feel that it's really very good, then we will surely share it on our social media handles. We would be glad to do that.
okay, he did. He shared that. Okay.
He's asking us to share on group one too, or someone else.
Pranav is asking.
Pranav is
us.
asking. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so now I think it was a very comprehensive doubt session and all your doubts are solved. I would like to thank our audience for tuning in and also to our leads for giving us such brief insights. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for attending, guys, and thank you so much, Aishwarya, for hosting it really well. You know, you handled the entire event really well. I mean, I should appreciate that. And thank you to the domain leads as well for coming and introducing your domains for our first year students. Really wonderful. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for
you.
attending.